Hi there, and welcome to my YouTube channel. The name is Gorata.Selaledi. I'm really so excited to be here yet again on a beautiful Monday. Whew, getting here, or getting back on here, I think after missing a week. What I realize is that you become a bit slower because the momentum kind of broke off. But I'm hoping that in the coming week, I will be able to find my rhythm and kind of be able to batch create within. I usually do it within an hour and a half. And today I took a bit longer. And the key reason actually was because for my TikTok videos, I was trying something new in terms of recording my videos using my back camera. But hi there and happy Monday! I hope you had a good week. We're continuing the conversation where we left off in the past week. We were editing your time and energy, and today we're continuing in terms of being able to come up with a strategy for your week so that you are able to develop a weekly success system for yourself, for the different goals that you've set for yourself. Honestly, I feel I have come up with a very good system for my content. I just need to get to a place where in terms of the timing of it, it's consistent. But what I realize with the season that I'm in is just gotta go with the flow in terms of working around my son's schedule and how the day decides to play out, right? So welcome to today's video. If you are new here, I am Gorata.Selaledi. I am your personal change strategist for the year 2026 until kingdom come. If you are new here, please do hit that subscription button for weekly coaching sessions for us to just kind of jump in. And what I love about the fact that I'm doing this on YouTube is that usually people watch their YouTube videos when they're kind of unwinding and closing off the day. So I hope that I will be that person for you so that you are able to actually tap in, check in, and kind of find a rhythm in terms of checking in with yourself week in, week out, and I can just be that person that guides you through that process. So we'll continue the conversation in terms of building success, weekly success systems, right? The key thought is that your weeks can and will alter the way your year plays out. So weeks are important in our way of thinking about how we are showing up, right? So your week decides your year. So what have your weeks been looking like for the past few weeks? We are in week 8 of 2026. How have the past 8 weeks been for you? Leave it in the comments. Let me know how you've been in terms of reaching and going at your goals. The key outcome for today's video is for you to design one focused, structured week, right? That builds momentum instead of overwhelm. So we're going to be designing your week. So starting today until next Sunday, the end of the point of today's video is to build a bit of structure around your week. So what does your Monday look like? What does your Tuesday look like? What does your Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, right? So the key hope as we come into this video that I noted down in my notes is to then say we are moving away from drifting like logs in the river to now designing, right? So one thing that I put on my bio is today, structure tickles my brain. And the key thing about structure that I love is that it doesn't restrict me, it protects me. And when you think about protection, is to then say it's kind of keeping your energy, your time in a box, right? Nicely closed box, and it protects you from the elements from outside. It protects your week. Imagine the week in the box. It protects your week, and ultimately it protects you, and it protects your focus, right? So if your week isn't clear, if you really don't know how your weeks, the past 8 weeks, have looked like, I'd want for you to stick around, because if we don't set structure for your week, your year is really truly going to be inconsistent, right? One week you're hot, one week you're cold, one week you're lukewarm, but we just want to be hot fire the whole week, the whole year, in terms of being able to show up for ourselves, right? So setting expectations for today's video: 4 things. We're going to be building a weekly architecture. So when you think about architects, they design, right? So they designed this house, they designed the different buildings that we've seen. It started with a design before it became, it became the walls, the doors, the window panes. Before it became a structure, there was a design. So the weekly architecture, and I'd want for us to move away from the mindset of thinking that designing your week means coming up with a to-do list or putting things in your calendar only. That's not what it is, right? So we're not going to be building a long to-do list, no. And we're not pushing ourselves to a place of pressure in terms of pushing yourself to get 1,000 things done just in 1 week. And if you haven't had structured weeks, let's take this week to be week 0. Right? We're starting from ground zero. So I'd want for us to start small and build from there on, right? And then the key expectation, or the key thought that I'd want for you to leave this video with, holding on to, is that structure creates clarity. So we are going to build a structure, right, that creates clarity. The design that we're doing is going to build clarity for yourself. So welcome to the video. We are back in my nursery. Decided to give my husband the living room, so I'm hoping that he is enjoying himself. I've been here for a while in terms of since I left him with my son, and there's a bit of mom guilt, just a teensy weensy. I feel it. But the hope is that I will be able to be here in the moment, be present until we're done with this video, and then I can go bond with both of them. So let's get into the video. So the first part of our video I've decided to title "The Problem with Most Goal Setting," right? The problem with most goal setting. So the year began, we sat down, you did your vision board, you set your goals to say, okay, by April, this is what I'm doing. By March, this is what I'm doing. By June, by August, and right? And maybe your goals were smart, but the key thing today is really to challenge you in this sense, to then say, do you have habits that are tied to your goals, right? So how many of your goals have habits that are inbuilt into your life, and how many of those are you currently juggling? So here's a few things that I want for us to think about when thinking about the problem with most goal setting, right? To say that people set monthly goals but live reactively daily. Something that I shared in my TikTok video is how people get excited, like I am people. Get excited for the year, get excited for the month, but really get excited for our days, right? I will be honest that some days the level of excitement isn't that high, but I think gratitude definitely, but just the excitement for the day isn't as high as New Year's at 11:59, right? The energy is not the same, and it can't be the same. But in thinking about it from a perspective of goal setting, a key thing or key mistake that most people usually do is setting their goals then for the month, and then you just live out your days normally. So the disconnect there would be that you've set your goals for the month, but you haven't actually decided what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. You don't have an anchor that is connected to your goals in terms of what are you doing today, what are you doing on Monday, what are you doing on, in terms of your goals, right? So building sustainable habits that are tied to the goal that you've set for the month. So ultimately, there should be a cascade in terms of how your goals feed into each other. January feeds Feb, Feb feeds March, and so on and so forth. So I hope that you've set your goals in that way to be able to actually look back and say what I'm doing today feeds into what is happening in April, feeds into what's happening in March, feeds into what's happening in December, and so on and so forth, right? So another thought in terms of what's wrong with most goal setting is that we over plan and we end up overwhelmed. So over planning that creates overwhelm in this case is another thing that's wrong with how we set our goals. And I think I used to have that challenge where I would set my goals and then I plan it out, right? I have books and books on books on books that actually have ideas, especially for my business, of things that I'd want to do. I've planned it all out, but I haven't executed on it. If you have been bitten by that bug before, you know how it feels. The overwhelm is real because you're sitting with a thought that says, but my sister, when are you doing this? When are you going to execute on this? I don't see an execution date. I see it on the plan, but when are you going to do it, right? And because of the overwhelm, when the day finally arrives for you to do it, you get stuck because you're sitting with a heavy emotion. Being overwhelmed in this case, you're overwhelmed mentally, and your body kind of just refuses to get to it for that reason. And then the last key thing to think about, what mistake we might usually make in terms of our goal setting, is to say too many goals, right, that come in and then dilute your focus. When the year began, I personally decided to say that my focus for the year is going to be motherhood, right? That's all. And in thinking about me as a mom, you may be wondering then, how does content creation tie into you being a mom? How does running a business tie into you being a mom? And truly, all of these connect to my, I'd say, mental health as well, right? So happy mom, happy child in this case. And content creation, I found in the past few months that it gives me so much joy coming on here. I literally get ready, I put on makeup some days. I put on makeup, I put on perfume, and I actually brought the perfume I'm wearing with me today. I wanted to show you guys. It's an Arabic perfume called Baccarat Rouge 540. It smells amazing. But yeah, I think that closes off our key thought in terms of thinking about having too many goals. But here's the closing thought for that first segment, right? When everything is important, nothing is. When everything is important, nothing is. What does that mean for you? Thinking about the past 7 days, your brain performs better with one clear target. Your brain performs better with one clear target, right? So how many goals are you currently juggling? As we continue on this video, the hope is to simplify your weeks and get you to a place where you have a clear sense of what your weeks look like, right? So in the past session, or in the past coaching program I did for the month of Jan, we're moving from vision to results. So for this section, I'd want to title it From Vision to Weekly Outcomes, because we're talking about results in a bigger sense, but now we're kind of drilling down to then say, what are the weekly outcomes that you would like to see, right? Because if it's not measured, truly, then nothing is going to come out at the end of the week, right? And I'm thinking about it even from the perspective of work, to then say we have targets for the year, and if you were to break down, let's say, a target that I have for weekly meetings, or monthly, my monthly my monthly meeting target, and you look at it from the perspective of how many visits do I need to do every week. It's important for me to sit and understand that before we get into the week, so that each week feeds into my monthly target. And the year has just begun, we're in month 2, and I'd want to encourage you to be very deliberate about the outcomes that you're getting week in and week out. So what primary outcome would tie to the one goal that you've set for yourself, right? What is the one outcome that is tied to the goal that you've set for yourself? So in terms of my content creation, the key outcomes would be having 3 videos, just 3, right, on my YouTube, and 3 talking head videos on my TikTok. That's my goal, right? So what is that one outcome for you, right? What is the one primary outcome tied to that specific goal? And I will be honest to then say I adjusted a bit when it comes to my exercise routine, because I was still adjusting to being back to work, and we did talk about adjusting. in terms of intensity on my TikTok. And I believe that we will get to it. The whole month of February was dedicated to talking about consistency, and truly I feel that we will get around to talking about it on my YouTube as an entire program. So from vision to weekly outcomes, right? So our goals do not equal vague intentions. Our outcomes equal, right? Our outcomes equal measurable truths. So for example, your goal would be working on my business, right? This is the intention, and it can be vague at times, and the outcome by Friday, my course outline should be complete. So I've set a goal for myself to say from Q1 I will be selling my coaching programs on Udemy. Right, the hope is to be able to not sacrifice too much of my time, given that I am prioritizing motherhood. So selling my Udemy courses and still providing these for free on my YouTube. But then the outcome when April begins, I should be able to have clear outcomes week in, week out in terms of being able to deliver at least one program on Udemy by the month of April. So a key question to you: if this week was successful, what must be true by Sunday? If this week was successful, what must be true by Sunday? So I'd want for you to pull out your journal, pause this video, and I'd want for you to write one primary outcome that you would like to see at the end of this week. So the next section of this video is to talk about supporting outcomes without overload, right? So in thinking about supporting outcomes, right, we've talked about the primary outcome for the week in terms of this is the one thing that I want to see coming out of my week. And truly for me, in terms of my content and how I've tied it to my mental health, what I usually say to myself when I'm feeling tired, I'm like, but your week is gonna be in shambles if you don't record. And truly it's a way of just encouraging myself to come back on here. But in thinking about supporting outcomes, right, and for me, if I was to give an example, would be, I'd say, the additional videos that I create, and these are weekly reminders that I usually put up on my TikTok. Please do check it out at Gorata. Is it Gorata.Selaledi on TikTok, right? But I'd want to guide you to think about what other supporting outcomes you'd like to see from your week, right? So maybe the primary goal for the week would be your health, but other supporting goals would be something tied to your personal life and something tied to your professional life. Because in thinking about your goals, there is a need for there to be balance. There's something in the coaching space that's called the wheel of life. And if you were to take all the areas in your life and segment into that wheel, would you have each and every one of them balanced? So in thinking about supporting outcomes, I'd want for you to choose two things that you'd want to actually see coming out of this week, that will support the primary goal, right? And the key questions I'd want for you to think about is to ask, does this support my primary outcome? Does this support my primary outcome? Or am I just adding pressure, right? So in thinking about other outcomes that you'd want to see coming out of your week, does this support your primary outcome? And for me, like I shared, my high level priority for the year 2026 is motherhood. So does that support or tie into it? And if it doesn't, you're adding pressure, right? So the key thought: fewer priorities create better execution. And I feel like I've gone over a bit on in terms of my time, but we will be done by minute 35, I believe. We'll just be 5 minutes over. So the next section is priority filtering, right? And I truly believe that this is very powerful in thinking about your week. You just sit and think about your priorities, and just like I've shared in the previous section, where to say fewer priorities help give and create better execution. So in thinking about priority filtering, the key thing is to then filter out the items that you might have on your weekly plan or productivity plan that are not useful, that are not helpful, right? And what we're learning would then be the process of elimination. So eliminating the things that do not add value to who you're becoming, to the goals that you've set for yourself, and ultimately the primary outcome that you'd like to see in your week, right? So the key thought I'd want for you to sit with for yourself, if you're someone who would sit and plan your week and add pressure and make the long to-do list, I'd want to challenge you to think, to then say you're not struggling with productivity, because clearly you can plan your week, you can schedule in things, but maybe the key thing is then to say you struggle with actually protecting your focus and adding the things that are most important first in your plan for the week, right? So the key thing is then you could be struggling with protecting your focus for the week. So the exercise I'd want for us to do in priority filtering for this section is I'd want for you to take a minute, pause this video once I've shared the task, and answer these and do this, right? I'd want for you to make a list. 3 tasks that directly support the primary outcome, right? 3 tasks that support the primary outcome, and 3 things that can wait. 3 tasks that directly support the primary outcome, and 3 things that can wait. And ultimately, when I think about my content creation, I think it's truly also tied to building my brand for the year 2026. So in thinking about the tasks that I would list out, right? Scheduling posts for my TikTok, scheduling posts for my LinkedIn, scheduling posts for my YouTube, all tied to building the brand that is Gorata.Selaledi as a personal change strategist for the year 2026. So anything that can wait, anything that does not feed into that vision can wait. So I'd want for you to make a list of 3 tasks that directly support the primary outcome and 3 things that can wait. So pause the video and do that for me, right? So what are you willing to say no to this week? Think about the past 7 days, the things that stole your time, and I'd want for you to answer this question after you've done the list, to then say, what are you willing to say no to this week, right? So thinking about that box I spoke about that protects your week, a protected week is a productive week, right? So the last 2 sections really is just to cement what we've been thinking about today in terms of building your weekly architecture, right? So energy aligned planning, and we're really trying to integrate what we learned in week 1, where we were auditing our time and energy, right? So energy aligned planning. I'm just going to share 2 questions I'd want for us to think through. And the first question is, when do I have the most mental clarity? When do I have the most mental clarity? Is it in the morning? Is it in the evenings? Is it during the day? But when is it? I'd want for you to answer that question for yourself. What reflection does is really building a database that you can tap into to inform yourself of how you're living out your life, right? So I'd want for you to encourage you to answer these questions for yourself, because you are building a data bank that no one can actually give to you. No algorithm can create for you, if not you. So the second question is, when do I usually feel drained? When do I usually feel drained? Right? And what you're doing here is really trying to establish when to slot in your activities. When you understand when you're feeling the most clear mentally and when you're feeling the most drained, you know then when to schedule in your primary outcome, or the tasks that are tied to you accomplishing your primary outcome for the week. So for example, for me, I've kind of just decided on a day when I do my batch creation for my videos, and I don't worry myself like on any other day to then say, Ish, I should be recording. No, I don't, because I've decided that on this specific day, my energy is right, my mind is right, I feel rested enough to actually come on here. So when do you have the most mental clarity, and when do you feel drained? So what I'd want for you to do once you've answered those questions, only after you've answered those questions, is for you to then go to your calendar and schedule the most important task into their highest energy, into your highest energy window. I'm reading out as I wrote it. Into your highest energy window. It could be a day, it could be a time in one of the days that you're living out, but I'd want for you to schedule it into your calendar, right? So the key thought for this section is, don't put your most important work in your lowest energy hour. And I can always tell, like on days when I've chosen to kind of just push through when I shouldn't have. Like if I was to take an example, if I was to try to record my videos after work when I get home, I feel drained, and I can usually tell in my videos. So the key thing is to stick to the day that I've chosen over the weekend, right? And yeah, so we're going to close today's video by thinking about a weekly commitment statement that we can write out, put on our phones, always look at in the morning. I'm going to do this for myself on my notes app. But I'd want for you to write this and repeat it to yourself, right? To then say, this week, my primary outcome is, right? For example, this week, my primary outcome is to practice keyboard. I will protect time for keyboard practice in the evenings. I release. I don't know how to finish that one. I'll figure it out. But what we're trying to do is to anchor emotional commitment, right? So I release any fear that is tied to me and making and learning music, because there's a lot of fear there. So the statements would be, this week my primary outcome is dash, right? Include your primary outcome. I will protect time for practicing my keyboard. So the primary outcome, I think, would be learning or doing 2 lessons or 3 lessons this week, and I'll protect time for keyboard practice if that's better, and I release the emotion that is tied to that commitment, right? So yeah, we've come to the end of the video, and I'd want for us to close today's video by just reinforcing what we've learned, right? To say the systems that we've built around our weeks will create consistency for our year, and clarity, having mental clarity and operating from that place of clarity reduces anxiety, and having focus builds confidence. So in the coming week, next week, which will be the last week for the program, we will build accountability rhythms, right? So that it doesn't fall apart after the month of February is over. So I'd want for you to comment your primary outcome in the comment section. You can generalize it if you don't want to TMI, share too much information. And I haven't gotten around creating the workbook. I'm hoping that by the time this video goes live, I would have. So download the workbook from the link of the free printables. And I'd want for you to really make time to answer the questions that I've said that I've shared in this video, and reminding yourself to then say structure allows you to operate from a place of clarity, right? So thank you for watching this video. It's actually within 30 minutes. So proud of myself. See you next week, Monday.